Have you ever caught yourself looking just a moment longer than you should have and wondered why? Not because you wanted to sin, but because something inside of you didn't stop fast enough. This message isn't to shame you, it's to expose what silence has been feeding, because every man, no matter how faithful, still carries a battlefield within. A war between what the eyes see, what the flesh wants, and what the spirit commands. And the truth is, most don't lose this battle because they're weak. They lose it because they fight it alone. Because the sinful nature still whispers. When a man is born again, the heart is renewed, but the flesh doesn't vanish. Paul said it clearly in Romans 7, "I see another law at work in me, waging war against the law of my mind." He wasn't confessing unbelief, he was confessing reality. Salvation doesn't erase temptation, it awakens awareness of it. Temptation isn't hypocrisy, it's evidence that the war is still active. The problem isn't that desire exists, it's that the man refuses to surrender it daily. Many try to pray their flesh away, when Jesus said, "Deny it." Crucifixion isn't a prayer, it's a decision. You don't kill the flesh by hoping. You kill it by starving it. Every day the Christian man must choose, feed the spirit or feed the impulse, because the one you feed longest becomes the one that rules. Because the world has learned how to weaponize sight, we no longer live in a neutral world. Temptation doesn't knock, it auto-plays. Everything from entertainment to advertising has mastered the art of seduction. You don't need to search for sin anymore. Sin searches for you. 1 John 2:16 warns that the lust of the eyes and the pride of life come not from the Father but from the world. Every scroll, every story, every image is engineered to capture attention, and attention is the currency of desire. What the eyes entertain, the soul eventually accepts. Seeing isn't always sin, but staring is. Feeding what you saw turns a glance into a seed, and that seed, if not uprooted, will grow roots deep enough to choke the spirit. That's why Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart." In this culture, guarding your heart means guarding your gaze, because purity is no longer automatic, it's warfare. Because the eyes are gates to the soul. Jesus didn't say, "Don't look." He said, "If you look with lust, you've already committed adultery in your heart." He wasn't condemning attraction. He was confronting intention. The eyes are windows. What enters through them eventually decorates the house of your mind. And what decorates your mind soon dominates your actions. You can't pray for purity while entertaining images that poison it. Every image becomes imagination. And every imagination builds a world that pulls you away from the real one. That's why Job said, "I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a young woman." Lust doesn't begin in the bedroom, it begins in the glance. If your eyes are not surrendered, your spirit will always be starved, because the devil studies what distracts you. Satan doesn't need to invent new traps, he just repeats what has always worked. He knows that for many men, the shortest route to bondage is through the eyes. Ephesians 6:11 says, "Put on the full armor of God so you can stand against the schemes of the devil." Notice schemes. He's strategic, patient, and precise. He studies the glance you thought was harmless. He watches what makes you linger. Then he uses it later as bait. The enemy doesn't destroy overnight. He distracts until destruction looks like desire. That's why Peter warns, "Be alert. Your enemy prowls like a roaring lion." Lions don't chase every gazelle, they wait for the distracted one. Every time you look without restraint, you tell the enemy where to aim next. Because many pray, but few prepare. Every man asks God for strength in temptation, but few build discipline before temptation comes. Proverbs 25-28 says, "A man without self-control is like a city without walls." You can't build walls while the enemy is already inside. Prayer is a shield. But discipline is the wall that keeps it standing. Self-control isn't given in the moment of weakness, it's forged in the moments of obedience. You train your eyes the way soldiers train reflexes. You learn to turn away faster than you used to gaze. That's not repression, it's refinement. If you can't control what you watch, you'll never control what you want. And if you can't govern your eyes, don't expect peace in your soul, because the flesh is never satisfied. The flesh doesn't get tired of sin, it gets creative with it. You can't tame it, you must crucify it. Galatians 5:17 says, "The flesh and spirit are in constant conflict. Many men lose because they try to resist the flesh while feeding it." You can't scroll for hours through sensual content and then pray for purity. That's like watering weeds and asking God for a clean garden. The flesh will disguise hunger as curiosity. It whispers, "Just look," until looking becomes wanting, and wanting becomes bondage. That's why Jesus said, "Watch and pray," because if you stop watching your gaze will start watching sin. Starve what starves you, feed what frees you, because intrusive thoughts are undealt memories. Not every temptation comes from what you see, some come from what you remember. The mind archives what the eyes once adored. And when the heart grows weary, the enemy replays the tape. 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, "Take every thought captive to obey Christ." But many men let thoughts roam freely. They think temptation happens to them when it's happening through them, through unguarded mental doors. An unfiltered memory becomes an open tab in the soul. Close it before it becomes a window again. Don't negotiate with nostalgia that leads to sin. Replace it. Fill your imagination with worship, word, and wisdom until old images have nowhere to rest. The shield of faith doesn't just block arrows, it extinguishes memories that try to reignite desire. Because attraction isn't the problem, intention is. Beauty isn't sin, but worshiping it is. God designed the eyes to admire creation, not to idolize it. Attraction is human. Lust is when you turn a glance into ownership. Jesus didn't tell men to stop seeing women. He told them to stop turning women into objects. Maturity doesn't deny desire, it disciplines it. A pure man isn't blind, he just sees differently. He can admire beauty without bowing to it. He sees an image bearer, not an invitation. James 1:14 warns that each person is tempted when by his own desire he is dragged away and enticed. So train your eyes to see with purpose, not possession. If your look doesn't honor, it dishonors. If your thought doesn't build, it breaks, because distance from God distorts desire. When intimacy with God weakens, temptation strengthens. Prayerless men fall, not because they're evil, but because they're empty. You don't overcome lust through guilt. You overcome it through closeness. James 4:8 says, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." But many men only pray after they've fallen, not before they're tempted. Intimacy isn't damage control, it's prevention. When the heart stays near the altar, the eyes lose their appetite for idols. Purity isn't a personality trait, it's proximity. Stay close to the fire of his presence, and cold desires melt, because they no longer fear what sin costs. The most dangerous fall begins when conviction fades. When sin stops shocking you, it starts shaping you. Proverbs 8:13 says, "The fear of the Lord is to hate evil." But modern men have replaced fear with tolerance. We rename sin, struggle, and call bondage weakness. The man who no longer fears God begins to flirt with what once broke him. He doesn't flee like Joseph, he lingers like David, watching Bathsheba from the roof. And that single look still ruins kings today. Fear of the Lord isn't dread, it's devotion. It's the awareness that every look has weight, every gaze has consequence, and every compromise costs clarity. Brother, this is not condemnation, it's a call to arms. You're not fighting this alone. Every man of faith knows this war, but you were never called to fight it in shame. You were called to fight it with truth. Your eyes can become instruments of worship, not weakness. Your glance can reflect reverence instead of rebellion. Every time you turn away, heaven counts it as victory. Every time you flee, you're proving that freedom is stronger than feeling. Stop measuring your strength by what tempts you. Start measuring it by what you walk away from. You're not less of a man because you battle. You're more of a man because you fight. Let your eyes see as Christ sees, with purity, with purpose, with respect. Let the Spirit discipline your sight until even temptation becomes testimony. And when guilt whispers, reminded of this: you are not condemned, you are being cleansed. You are not a failure, you are in formation. You are not defined by your fall, you are defined by your fight. Because the cross didn't die for perfect men, it died for disciplined ones. And the ones who win this battle aren't the ones who never look. They're the ones who learn to look away. If this message spoke to your heart, share it, and write below, Lord, train my eyes to see with purity and purpose. You're not invisible in your struggle. Heaven sees you. And when you choose purity over impulse, you don't just win a battle, you reclaim your vision. The same eyes that once wandered can one day witness miracles. That's redemption. That's manhood. That's freedom.